Welcome to the components of a good essay, brought to you by the Writing Center. So what is the basic essay structure? The structure of a basic essay will always include the introduction, the body paragraphs, and the conclusion. In this presentation, we will go over each one of these components in detail. So for the introduction paragraph is what sets the stage. The introduction is when you reveal the central idea or your thesis, and it can help guide the reader to the important ideas of the paper, like what is this paper about and why is it going to be relevant to read this paper. The introduction is your chance to get the reader interested in your topic. So what would you include in the introduction? Well, first you would include what we call a hook. This is a statement or example that grabs the reader's attention, right? This is the first sentence so that it propels the reader to want to read more because you've caught their attention. Right after you have this hook that leads the reader in, then you will include background information or a summary, depending on what type of paper it is. And what this does is this gives the reader of your paper context as far as what is getting ready to come next. Then at the end of that paragraph or the end of the introduction and academic resource, American Academic English paper, you would have your theses. And your theses is a sentence, or it can be two sentences, that is going to state the main idea of the writing assignment and the controlling ideas and the points that you're going to make in this essay. So let's look at the theses. So a thesis statement focuses on the ideas of the paper. It is not a question. It is going to present the topic. It's going to tell the reader what the paper is about. A thesis is very clear and concise, right? And a thesis is going to serve as a guide to keep the writing focused, because as you move on to your body paragraphs are going to expand upon what was written in the thesis. So let's talk about body paragraphs. So a good body paragraph in the essay should always focus on one central topic. Remember, that topic should be narrow enough to talk about it in a few sentences, but this topic that you have is going to be related to the point or the topic that you have in your thesis. So there are 4 parts in general to a well-written body paragraph. You have the topic sentence, and the topic sentence is exactly what it says. It's the very first sentence of this paragraph, right? And that's going to let the reader know what is this paragraph going to be talking about, right? Then you're going to have evidence or explanation. Now, the evidence can be a direct quote, right? Or you're going to have proof, and that'll be in-text citations, right? You also might include analysis, which is breaking down the meaning of the work and providing your own explanation and interpretation about its importance. And this might be an analysis of literature, or it might be analysis of the evidence that you have presented. And then you'll have a concluding sentence. And this is going to be the last sentence in that body paragraph, which ties all the information together so that the reader fully understands that in this particular paragraph, we talked about this, and you provided evidence to support this, and now we're at the end, and that's all we're going to say about that before we move on to the next topic. The topic sentence is usually going to relate back to the points mentioned in the thesis, and remember that the topic sentence will include transition sentences, especially when you get into the middle of your paper, because a transition is like a bridge. A transition shows the relationship between 2 or more ideas. So in your thesis, you're talking about point A, B, and C. And so when you write your body paragraphs, your topic sentence is going to remind the reader that you were talking at point A. And then after you finish that, then your transition topic sentence, right, will remind the reader that now we're going to talk about point B and that we're done with point A. So within your body paragraph, you have evidence. And this is the information that has been researched if you're doing a research paper, right? And then this will also include discussion of why this evidence relates to the theses or the overall point of the paper. This is where you will see in-text citations, right? And in-text citation is going to tell the reader the source of information, research, and of course it gives the author credit. And the in-text citation will come after a quote, right? You might have a quote, right? And when you include quotes, you want to introduce the quote with the speaker's credentials so that the reader will understand why this quote is going to be relevant or important. And then you have paraphrasing. Paraphrasing is a summary of the information, and this is in your own words, but paraphrasing will also require a citation because it is not your own thoughts. Also, you might have analysis. Analysis always involves delving deeper into the author's meaning or the particular research that you've done, right? And depending on what type it is, it's going to be examining that research, or it might be a critique of the literary devices used by an author, right? You will tend to use quotations to illustrate the analysis. If you've analyzed something, then you're going to quote from that text that you're analyzing so that it connects with the reader. And therefore, that means that you will need to include in-text citations. The conclusion, right, requires you to restate your theses, right? The reason why you restate your theses, but not using the exact same words, is because as you're concluding the paper, you want to wrap everything up. So part of wrapping everything up is reminding the reader what was this paper initially about. Then you're going to go over your main points in a very succinct and manner. It's like, hey, this paper was about this, and we talked about point A, point B, point C, and then you'll have a concluding sentence without using the word in conclusion, because that would be redundant. But this is a final thought that wraps up the whole paper, right? And might leave the reader with something to think about or a suggested course of action. So when you're reviewing your body paragraphs, think about it. Do you have enough evidence, right, to support your overall topic's main idea, right? And does that evidence clearly support it? Right. Also consider, are you repeating yourself? Are you writing the same thing over and over again? Have you defined all of the things, right? After someone reads this paragraph, will they be able to say in a nutshell what this paragraph is about? And when you review and proofread your paragraph, things, has this paragraph fulfilled its purpose? So remember the basic components of a good essay: introduction that provides a hook to pique the interest, and it gives that back information and includes the theses, that body paragraphs that are presented in a logical manner for the type of paper that you're writing, and will relate back to the thesis and provide evidence, analyze, and wrap up the main ideas of the paragraph, and then the conclusion that will restate the thesis in whole, right, but just in a different manner, highlight the main point, and leave the reader with the feeling that the paper is now complete. So if you have any additional questions or concerns, please feel free to come to the Academic Resource Center